Hey folks, and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to present the new Pipnotic Pools trading robot order entry utility. I'm going to walk through the configuration options and show you how I am using it. So in order to run it, you simply drag it onto a chart, then it's running up here, and you can see that right now there's a little frown, and the frown is simply telling us that this button is not pressed, or this setting has not been checked off. Live trading, this has to be checked off. If you don't do that, then this will remain a frown and the robot will do nothing. Okay, so we'll just enable that. Good, move this back up like that. Good, so once it's on the chart, let's open it and have a look. We have a few configuration parameters. The first one here, the product key. This is the value that you put in here at the beginning of every month. And this expires every month. So every month you'll have to come into the pools channel to get the new key. You put it in here, and then the robot, all instances of the robot will start to run. Have this setting, max slippage. This is exactly what the name of the parameter says. Here we have max spread. We have time frame, and this is an important one because if it is set to current, the robot is going to look at the current chart and time frame, so Australian dollar 30-minute chart. So it's going to perform its analysis on this chart, in contrast to a configuration where you select, for example, H4 here. Now when this is selected, it's going to look down here to the pairs setting. It's going to look at the 4-hour chart for all of the pairs, all of the symbols that you have specified down here. The reason I don't like that is because I like to slow down the process of analysis to help me kind of focus one pair at a time, just not to get ahead of myself. So I leave it on that. That's the default setting as well. We have this value here, multiple instances. This is set to false, and this is just to ensure that you don't have two instances in different configurations that are fighting each other. You can have one instance that's running and deleting orders, and the other one could be running and at opening orders, and so this of course would be a bit of a conflict, and so I just want to make sure that this is not possible. We have maximum risk. This is set to default to 0.1% to really reduce your exposure. We have lot size. If this value here is set to 0, well, then it's going to look at the lot size, and this is just 1 microlot. So I just put these to the smallest possible value, just to make sure that that you're not overexposing yourself to risk. Okay, we have max positions per pair, so I'm allowing it to trade 1 pair, so 1 trade per pair, and I'm allowing it to trade open 5 positions where, for example, the US dollar is a part of the pair of the cross, okay, or 5 positions where the euro is a part of the combination of currencies. Just to reduce exposure to any one given currency. Distance between positions, if this is set to 2, the robot will look at the entry level. It'll put in the first order at the low of the box, the second order 10 pips above. So it's going to cascade entries throughout an area of supply or demand. We have this setting here, delete all pending. If this is set to true, it'll delete only pending orders that the robot itself has created. Instruments, we've covered that. We have filters, enable trend. If this is set to true, it's going to look to this time frame. It's going to draw trend lines like this, and it's going to say, okay, if we have a higher lows, we're in an uptrend. If we have lower highs, then we're in a downtrend. Positive swaps only. If this is set to true, this is going to be the lowest value that the swaps of any given symbols will be allowed to be for the robot to trade. And this is just to help prevent you from holding really expensive trades overnight. We have stop losses. We want this enabled. The stop multiplier is set to 3, which means it's 3 times the volatility of the Australian dollar, American dollar on the 30-minute chart, which is this much on this chart. If you want the stop to be in pips, then you simply specify the number of pips here. We have targets. When I set this to true, this is working the exact same way as this here, so we have a 1-to-1 risk reward. Here we have supply and demand settings. We have risk to reward ratio. This is 4 to 0. So when this area is qualified, in order for it to be qualified, price has to travel 4 times the size of this area of supply in 3 periods. We have accumulation, departure, strength. This simply tells the robot something about the behavior of this candle. So the higher the setting, so the closer to macro, the more strength, the lower, the less strength. But I find intermediate minus is a really good general setting for any currency pair in any time frame. Number of periods until expiration. I put this to 20 periods. So for this chart, it'll be 20 half-an-hour periods, which is 10 hours. Enable deep zones. When this is set to true, like so, it will find the high of the area of supply and demand, and the entry will be placed at the high. So you can see here, this is at the bottom of the edge of accumulation. But when this is set to true, it'll look at the top edge of this area of accumulation. Okay. We have trend lines. Enable trend line extension. This simply tells the software to draw the trend line extended into the future. This setting tells us about the thickness of the line. This setting tells the software that we want to see these trend lines, and this here is telling us how important these trend lines should be. So we want to see 8 lows on either side of a low to be qualified. So we want 8 lows to the left and 8 lows to the right to be greater than the low of this one and this one here. The opposite for the highs, 8 to the left, 8 to the right must be lower than the high, and also for this point here. And then we have the colors for the settings. So here you can see that we have kind of a gray color, which means that we are on a 30-minute chart, which looks absolutely perfect just here. So the way I'm using it is I just put it in the default setting. I think the default setting works very well. You know what, we'll just put in for this one, because price has already been back, maybe we want to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to enable deep zones like so. I'm going to switch it on. I'm just going to put the order in at the top of this candle here, which is the one that is qualified as accumulation. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. Let me go to an hourly chart and I'll just show you, give you a good idea what I'm getting up to. Let's just delete this so we have something else to look at, so we can find something else. Yeah, so okay, this is a nice area. We like to have a look here, and you might say, wow, that's a really big stop. So you can either do that, or you can go to the configuration to ensure that the stop multiplier is a little bit smaller. But this is just a really nice area because price, we had market structure failure. We had kind of like a wedge, and price is getting squeezed, and then it pops up. This is the area of demand that caused market structure to fail, and a likely place for price to bounce at. We have a look on another pair. Give it a minute to think, and it says, yeah, we like this, so we'd like to put a trade in there. So if you like what you see, you turn it on. If you don't, you go to another time frame and say, yeah, well, actually, I like this a lot better. So you go like that, then you click it on. I'll do that very quickly, like so, and it puts in the order for us. If, yeah, that's right. We might have this setting which stop this from happening. But if everything is in line with the swaps, then everything should be good. But we like that one there, so I'm going to leave that in. I'll turn off the robot. I'll go to the next pair. I'll go to the time frame that I like. Or rather, I'll keep going until I find a trade that I like. But I'll normally perform my analysis while I'm using this software. And so I'll go here and I'll say, where are we? Well, we're actually bouncing off this demand here. We're bouncing, so price should probably move higher from here. So we have a bullish a bias for the short term, intermediate term. Now I go to the small time frame, and I would simply buy at demand. So you might want to change this, set this to false, so that we're going to allow it to buy. It says, yes, I like this one here. Price came up. We came out, we tested, we rallied, accumulated, rallied. Price moved above here. When price left here, we also move. Kind of through this area here. You see here we had price, went up, tested, and this area here took this one out. So I'll say bagus, which is Indonesian for great. I click it on. Done. Dollar Swiss franc. What do we have here? Well, we have, let I mean, price is reacting to this, you can see, and it reacted pretty close to that. It's kind of washed out already, as you can see. And so, I mean, price has already been up there, and we saw a very nice departure. So this is maybe a second approach, but I'd need to see what's going on in the bigger time frames. What's going on? So here you can see that we actually have we're in an uptrend. So we have a low, high, higher low, and a higher high. So price is kind of racing north. So I'd probably want to buy. So I'd flick on the robot, and I would just look for a place to buy or sell at the extremes. And you can see this. I like this actually, because this is kind of parent, child, price leaf. So I would probably flick that on with confidence. I'd flick it on, let it open the trade, and then I would move it higher up to there, or maybe up to the high of the departure, which is right there. You can see this candle retraced up to here before it left. This is the candle that left. This is a high, so this is the beginning of the sell zone. So I'd start selling there. Once price got up there, I mean, we're pretty high up in the curve, so I'd be pretty comfortable buying it back kind of around this little price nodule here. Okay, let's go to another one. The dollar Japanese yen. This is kind of moving sideways. Let's go to the smaller time frame. Sorry, the bigger time frame. Let's see what's going on. We have this. We had a really nice departure. This did not move down below here, but we did have a really nice departure. We had probably a trend line that was broken, something like that, and this one did it. So that's totally worth having a close look at. Price will bounce in there, and it'll kind of mess around there for a while, so it's worth putting on and having a closer look. And when you go to the smaller time, you can see price will probably come to here, the lows here, and then continue down. But we just don't know. But this is essentially how I'm using it. If you want to use it like the automated way, then I'd go to delete all pending, put this to true. I'd run it. You see all the trades are disappearing. I'd flick it back on again. And I'd say, okay, we want to trade 4 hour areas. I'd say go. Now it's going to start buying 4 hour areas and selling at 4 hour areas. I found this one. If we go here and have a look, you can see that we have our Euro USD, dollar franc, dollar yen, Aussie dollar, and dollar CAD. So these are the ones that it found on the 4 hour chart. If we have a closer look at those, we have that one there that we saw before. We have this one. You see? These stops are pretty tight, so you might want to go through there and have a closer look. This is a nice continuation pattern here. Yeah, but you can see that the cool thing about putting it on the current setting, like I did earlier on, is it just enables you to slow things down. I mean, I wouldn't accept all of those trades like that, but I just feel more comfortable going through them one by one and performing my analysis like that. Okay. Good. Well, I will leave it at that. If you have any questions about the pooled robot, please feel free to shoot them in the algo trading channel or the pools channel or any of the channels actually, and I will get to those as soon as possible. Thank you very much for watching.